So there's three ways to get into the Supreme Court of the United States. Most people don't know the third way. The first is by writ of certiorari. That's invoking the court's appellate jurisdiction. Writ of certiorari is a request to review a lower court's decision. So if you have a decision in place and you want to do a claims processing request for relief, which is an appeal, you would bring a writ of certiorari. You'd say, hey, please review this judgment that's in place. That brings in the court's discretionary authority, meaning that they can use their discretion to decide whether or not to hear that case or not. Are we using that route?
No.
The second way is original jurisdiction. Original. Which means that that's the court to act first. Not the appellate court, but the first court. It is the court that must act first. Constitution says that in all cases in which a state is a party, the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction. Now, someone said to me this morning on Facebook, they said, yeah, but Congress determines what cases they hear or not hear. Not true. Quit bringing misinformation and bullshit into this argument. Because the Constitution doesn't say that the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction of whatever case Congress says that they have. It says all cases in which a state is a party. Listen to the words of the Constitution. Rely upon its supremacy and its power, and don't bring in any bullshit into it. Because Congress does not get to change the Constitution of the United States of America. The people do. So that's not true. In all cases in which a state is a party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. Now, unfortunately, when a court lacks jurisdiction, then it isn't a court. When a court lacks jurisdiction, it can't create court's agents. So if you want to know why I wrote the affidavit the way that I did when I said that a person portraying themselves as a prosecuting attorney, or a person portraying themselves as an agent of the state, or a person portraying themselves as a judicial officer, because there wasn't one. Because in all of your cases, the state was a party to that cause. And if the state is a party to the cause, then the Constitution of the United States does not grant the state jurisdiction. Which means that the court is not a court, because a court cannot exist without jurisdiction. Which means that the court had no authority to create a court's agent. Which means that it was a person portraying themselves as an agent of the court. It was a person portraying themselves as a judicial officer. That wasn't a judge. That wasn't a prosecutor. That wasn't a CPS agent, because in order for that agent to exist, the court must have authority to speak the law and to adjudicate that particular dispute. And they do not if the state is a party. They do not. So why would I call them out as a judge? Call them out as a prosecutor? There's no official capacity. This is a person that believed that they had the authority to do something that they constitutionally did not have the authority to do. That doesn't make what they did right. It makes what they did criminal, because they broke the law. And if you break the law, what you've done is committed a criminal act. Deprivation of rights under color of law. There's no denying any of this. So the second way to get into the court is original jurisdiction. Supreme Court, if you don't step up, legislature, if you don't step up, Mr. Trump, if you don't step up, we're coming with original jurisdiction. And when it comes to a constitutional obligation, I'm going to tell you right now, you can never use your discretion to abridge a constitutional obligation, because that's an abuse of discretion. So Supreme Court, when we invoke original jurisdiction, if you say that you have discretion to disregard that, you've just abused your discretionary authority with which you're invested in law in order to disregard a constitutional obligation, and that once again is a crime of treason committed in open court, because your court, any action you do is in open court. Now the other issue is delegation. Supreme Court, when we bring this as original jurisdiction, we invoke Article 3 to you, you cannot say that we have to bring this to a different court, because you, Supreme Court of the United States, have no authority to amend the Constitution of the United States. And when the Constitution assigns the obligation to you, you may not tell us that any other court has jurisdiction, because that would be willful disregard and violation of the law. Once again, that would be a criminal act. That would be a treasonous act. But more importantly, when we bring all of these affidavits to you, remember, when government commits an unlawful act, the pursuance of an outcome, that outcome is nothing at all. There is nothing for any one of these people to appeal, because none of these courts had authority to be able to do what they did. So therefore, this is an original civil action. There is nothing to appeal, because you must look at the timeline. Judgment happened at the end. Jurisdiction happened at the beginning. Just because there's a judgment that you allegedly put into place, if that originated from an unconstitutional act or from a court that had no jurisdiction, there is nothing to appeal. Not one of these people have to appeal. All these attorneys are so bright and amazing, and yet they don't understand the basic concept of jurisdiction. And they want you to go to the end because they make a lot of money off you going to the end. I didn't want to go to the end because I want to help people, and I want to do it in the biggest bang that I can with one single win. The attorney, he wants to do 50 appeals at $50,000 a piece that he's only going to win 1% of. I'm going to win 100% of all of them. Because I'm not an attorney. I'm an advocate. I speak on behalf of others in legal matter. I don't act on behalf of them. Attorneys, you should really take a playbook out of this and take a little bit more time to learn substantive law. Because if you would have, maybe you could have been the hero. But today we got a different set of heroes, and that's 2 million mothers and fathers, 2 million prisoners that are going to step up and going to hold this system accountable for 243 years of crimes, of ignorance. And we just got to say that these are the people that claim to be experts in the law. But the problem is that when you claim to be an expert in the law and yet you don't obey the law, that's not an expert in the law. That's a criminal. And that's a traitor. So I would reflect very, very, very quickly here. We're not going to provide any more notice. When I leave here today, I'm shutting my phone off. And the next time you see me, we're going to be walking that court with 2 million criminal affidavits invoking original jurisdiction. And you're going to have to decide whether or not you're going to keep this nation together by enforcing the laws that bind it all together. And if you don't, then I would welcome you to go ahead and turn your lights off, lock your door, go home, brush off your resume, and find a job at Burger King, because that's where criminals deserve to work.
Stop cashing those paychecks.
There's one more way to get into the Supreme Court, and I want to finish with this. One more way. That's by a certified question. Certified question. So judges, appellate attorneys, right? Attorney generals, if you want to mitigate your culpability in this criminal conspiracy that I've identified and I've notified you of, the only way you can do that is by certified question. And you must submit that certified question to the Supreme Court and say, court, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And then you must cease and desist all action until such time as you're directed to do otherwise. But if you don't take action to mitigate your culpability and get clarification from the authority that is giving you the ability to act unlawfully, putting the responsibility onto them, then unfortunately, you're going to be a member of this criminal conspiracy, and there's no way out of that. Once we bring this into the public domain, once this goes on record and the people start talking about this, what are you going to do after having been notified of these crimes and having a year to resolve them? What are you going to do? People in the United States are not going to accept, oh, I didn't know, or, oh, I'm just doing what I was told to do, because unfortunately, even servants of tyrants can't take refuge in the excuse that they were simply following orders. So in the wise words of President Abraham Lincoln, I do suppose that we would be much safer for all, both in public party and private party, to abide by and conform with all those laws which stand unrepealed than to violate any of them, trusting to find impunity in your absolute immunity. You have no absolute immunity. Nowhere in the Constitution does it permit that. You will be held accountable for the criminal acts that you committed unless you take action to remove yourself from culpability in it, and that must be done by an affirmative action or reporting these crimes to the authorities. It's the only way out. It's the only way out. So when I leave here, we won't talk again, because I'm not going to ask criminals to stop committing crimes. If I played with the scorpion, it stings me. I'm not going to blame it for stinging me because I know what it is. I know you're all criminals now. I've shown that you're all criminals. Senators buying crimes, congressmen buying crimes, right? Judges not having the proper paperwork, right? Prosecutors not bringing the proper charging instrument. CPS agents stealing children, right? Extortion across the fucking board. You're all criminals. You're all criminals. All you public officials, you're all criminals. And is that how you want to be remembered? That's up to you. I'm going to be remembered differently. But you guys aren't right now. So I welcome you guys to step up. Any one of you right now, discharge the duties of your office. Fulfill the obligations and promises that you made to the people of the United States. And let's save this country together. Because otherwise the destruction is on your hands.
Aho.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
The truth comes out. When the truth comes out, you can run, but you know it's ending. At the bottom of the grave, you're digging out. When the truth comes out, yeah, you know this is just the beginning. Lies crumble down when the truth comes out. Crumble down when the truth comes out. You can try to cover up the lies, but I know the truth. Yeah. You can hide in darkness, but the light will find its way through.